What's going on, guys? I'm Exotic Gaming. Welcome back to another Combat Master Online video. Today's video is all about the best settings that you need to turn on to have the best gameplay experience in this game. I've come up with two different HUD layouts. One layout for people that like to play with 4-finger claw, as well as a second layout for people that like to play with 2 fingers thumbs. Both are awesome. You're going to get great gameplay regardless which layout you choose. Also, I'm going to give you my best sensitivity settings as well as the best graphic settings and any other in-game settings that you need to turn on or off to improve your gameplay experience and have no lag whatsoever. I hope this video does help you. If it does, please take a second and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel down below. It literally takes a half second and you can always unsubscribe later. Thank you so much for your support, guys, and let's get into this. So here we are now in the Halloween 2021 updates of Combat Master, and let's just go open up our settings here and get things started. First things first, you have your game settings, and I would personally turn off your hit vibrations and your equip vibrations. Honestly, it's entirely up to you, but whenever I'm playing a game and I'm super concentrated, and then all of a sudden my phone just starts vibrating in my hand, it sort of messes with my concentration, and then I usually die. So I would personally turn those things off. It's just going to probably give you better gameplay. Next up, you have your theme. And if you're watching this video and you're one of the crazy people that likes to... Oh, God, it's so bright. Turn on light mode. I mean, honestly, you do you, man, but I like playing at nighttime and I don't want to have my eyes burned out of my skull. So I would personally turn on dark mode. And a little pro tip that some people won't be telling you is, if you turn on dark mode, it might improve your battery just a little bit, all right? Because when your phone is shining a brighter screen at you, it's going to burn through its battery faster. So if you like to turn on dark mode, it's actually going to improve your battery just a little bit, all right? Next up, you have your battle interface, and I would personally turn all of these things on. This just gives more information to the enemies when you kill them, so you can, flex on somebody if you have a cool calling card, for example. Like, if I kill somebody and I have the kill card turned on, they're going to get to see that I have the full speed calling card, and if they don't have it, they can be a little bit jealous of me. So I think it's cool. It doesn't affect your lag or anything like that, so you might as well turn those things on because it's pretty cool. Next up, you have your graphics settings, and this is where things get very complicated because there's a lot of different things to go over. And let me be very clear about something right at the very beginning here. Listen very carefully. If there's nothing that you remember from this video, remember this one thing, all right? You can sacrifice graphics, but you cannot sacrifice frames per second. You can play any game you want with bad graphics, and as long as you have good frames per second, you're going to have a fine time. If you play any game at all and you have good graphics, but you have bad frames per second, you are not going to do well, and you're not going to have a fun time, okay? So, this is what I would recommend everybody to do, regardless if you have a high-end device like this, a Nubia Red Magic 6, or you have a low-end device like this. This is a $100 Motorola phone with, I think, 2 gigabytes of RAM, all right? You should probably start with things turned on pretty high, okay? Like, you could even turn everything on to the absolute max, like I have right here. But if you jump into a match and you start to notice any bit of lag, start to turn things off, okay? So I would probably first turn off your battle shadows to low. And if you still have lag, then maybe turn off the battle lights and the lobby shadows and the fog, and keep going down the line, turning off settings one by one until you get to the point where you don't have any lag at all, okay? Do not mess around with your frames per second. Try to keep it at as high as your phone can actually run a game at, all right? Because if you start to lower your frames per second, then it's really going to mess things up. And honestly, just keep it at as high as you could possibly get. Everything else can be sacrificed and be worse than it currently is. The only thing that I actually would probably recommend keeping pretty high is your resolution of the battle and the resolution of the lobby. Honestly, the resolution of the lobby doesn't matter as much because, that's literally just this. That's what this looks like. And, obviously this doesn't matter as much as the actual game itself. But I would personally keep the resolution of the battle higher than at least 1920 by 864. This is about the lowest that I would go with that, because this is kind of like a 1080p video on YouTube. For me, for my phone, it says 1920 by 864. For some people, it might say 1920 by 1080. So just, you know, keep it where the left number is at 1920 or higher, and you should be pretty good. For your field of view, I always like to keep it pretty much at the standard field of view, but, you know, obviously, if you turn your field of view a little bit higher, you can see more around you to the left and to the right. So, you know, if you're in a super close-ranged map, you might actually want to kick this thing up a little bit more to like 70 or something like that. But, you know, only the craziest of people like to turn these things up to the absolute max. I would probably keep it at 70 and, you know, you can adjust it from there if you like to have it even wider scale than that. Then, yeah, your scale of your battle should be at 100%. And as I said, basically, moral of the story is you can lower down your render quality, you can lower down your particle effects or anything like that, but you don't want to lower down your frames per second. The things that are probably going to cause the most amount of lag for you is your render quality, your particle effects, your lobby, or not your lobby, but your battle light, shadows, and fog. And then probably your textures as well. But like your lobby light, your lobby shadows, blood decals, explosion decals, those will matter less than your actual particle effects, your battle light and shadows, textures, stuff like that. So those are the first things that you probably want to turn off before you go to your lobby settings and stuff like that. But that's an overall of the graphics. Let's go to our controls here. And this is what I would recommend as the best HUD for people that play with 4 fingers. So you can see it right here. You can copy it exactly as I have done right here. This is how I currently play this game. I've done a lot of testing and a lot of different matches, and it works well for me. I actually have seen a lot of people move their switching their weapon button to right here, and this is how they play with claw. But whenever I actually do that, I always find that whenever I'm using my thumb to move left and right, I actually accidentally hit the knife button, and then it makes me switch over to a knife when I don't want to do that. So I've actually moved this to the bottom right of my screen, and then that way I don't ever accidentally hit the knife. I, you know, can actually intentionally press the gun button, and then it'll actually work pretty well. But if you're watching this video and you like to play with 2 fingers, you like to play with your thumbs, and you don't like playing with claw, which, you know, I understand. Some people just don't like to play with claw. This is what you should do. You should keep this right about right here. This is good for somebody that plays on a phone. Then I would just lower this thing down, get this button out of here. It doesn't matter. You're not ever going to be pressing this button. For your crouch button, I would actually put this right about right there. That usually is pretty good. Your firing button might be increased just a little bit and put right about right there. Your aiming button, your jump button, and generally something like that is pretty much perfect for anybody that plays with thumbs, okay? Obviously, depending on the resolution and scale of your phone, like if your phone is longer or your phone is shorter, then you obviously will need to change the buttons to be just a little bit left or right. But generally speaking, put it like this and then adjust the buttons just a little bit to the left and the right until it's perfectly comfortable for you. You can even lower down the size of a button if you accidentally keep pressing the firing button when you're trying to move left and right. But generally speaking, something like this is pretty good for people that play with thumbs. I'm going to close that because I personally play with claw. Next up, you have your rotation mode. I would personally put this at speed and put it right around 150. Something like that is pretty good. You know, you can put it up a little bit higher, but sometimes this is basically when you're quickly rotating as fast as you can to hit somebody that might be right behind you. If you put it much higher than 150, it might be too fast, and you might end up doing a 360 instead of a 180, and then that person's going to kill you anyways. But I would keep it at speed and put it right around 140 to 150, because that way, if somebody comes up behind you, you can quickly swipe around 180 degrees, and then you can kill them before they kill you. Next up, you have your camera sensitivity. I would personally put this a little bit higher than some other people do. Now, some people like to play at pretty low sensitivity. I've even seen videos on YouTube where people are like, oh yeah, put it at slow, it's good like that. But I don't like that. I disagree with those people. This is what I would do for at least the scopes that I currently use. There are some scopes that I don't even think are in the game yet. Like, I've never experienced the ×8 scope or the ×6 scope, even down to like the ×4 or ×3. So I don't really know what those weapons would be like. And maybe I would actually say you would lower or, you know, even make the ×3 scope higher. But try to have it like, you know, at an angle like that. And your standard sensitivity should be pretty close to around 400. That way you can very quickly move left to right. And you just feel very agile. I like high sensitivity. So something like this is really good for me. Sensitivity switch, I put it at instantly. I don't really know what end of animation and gradually is, so honestly, I've not really noticed any difference whenever I play like that, so just keep it at instantly, and that's good for you. And then finally, you have your additional settings as well here. Fixed joystick, I like that turned on just because I will always know that that's where the joystick is on my screen. I never am surprised and then accidentally press the wrong spot and then I go backwards instead of forward. Your auto stand after slide should be turned on, regardless if you play with 4 fingers or 2 fingers, and then hold ADS. I personally like that actually turned off, and that way I can, press the sniping button whenever I actually want to scope in and out, and that just feels more natural to me. I like that turned off. Now, the next 2 settings are different for whether or not you play with thumbs or claw. If you play with claw, I would turn off the sniper shoot from ADS and enter ADS when shoot. I like those off. That way I can choose whether or not I like to scope in or not when I'm using a weapon. Sometimes I like to use hipfire, so I turn these things off. But if you're only playing with 2 fingers, it's sometimes hard to try and press all the buttons all in a very fast period of time. So I would turn these things on just because you can literally scope in and wait, and then the second you have your finger off the screen, you'll let go of the snipe, and then you can actually hit somebody when you're playing with 2 fingers. And then enter ADS when shoot. That just, if you turn that on, that basically will always scope you in the second you press the firing button. It's actually pretty useful for people that play with 2 fingers. And then double tap action. Honestly, I would turn that off to just no, because I don't really experience, I don't need to double tap my screen at any point in time. And then finally, there's your sound settings. That's entirely up to you. It's not really going to affect your gameplay experience at all. So choose however you like for your game. And overall, that pretty much covers everything. I would assume that over time, there's going to be more settings added to the game. Like, for example, in this update, they just adjusted it to where in your controls, you can even increase your sensitivity more than 300. 300 was the highest that it was in the last update, but hey, I now like it around 400, so that's actually a really nice thing that they changed in this game. And as I said earlier on in the video, the most important thing that you need to know if you experience any lag in this game is you can sacrifice graphics, but you cannot sacrifice frames per second. So turn down the graphics, turn down these extra settings and stuff, the fancy stuff that makes the game look good, and as long as you have good frames per second, that's the most important thing. But yeah, as I said, you can go back in the video and pause to see exactly how I did those HUD layouts, and that's basically it. Hope you did enjoy this video. I hope you did find it helpful. If you did, please take a second and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. You can always unsubscribe later if you don't like my future content. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you all in the next episode.